be the problem here then? Oh. I'll do it. There we are. Round the front, all safe and sound. So this is my 1991 J-Reg Mitsubishi GTO, not 3000 GT, GTO, so it's a genuine import. It says for that, see? It's got to be the truth, there's someone stuck it on a dial. I got this car just over a year ago, just before Christmas 2020, I think it was. So, you know, I've had a little while. I haven't done anything to it, really. The only thing I have done is change these, so you can see a bit of red, but these are all red, it was hanging. Bits like this. So this, if you don't know, is a Japanese sports car of the time. This is the 3-litre V6 non-turbo. If it was a turbo, it'd have 2 dials in there, and you'd know the turbo gauge. Oh, thank God. This car, these cars, were a childhood favourite of mine since the Gran Turismo days in 1999 or 2000, whenever I first had my PlayStation, and I have been in love with them ever since. So it's a proper childhood dream car to have. This one came up really cheap. A mate was selling it. Well, I say mate, I didn't know him at the time, but he's a good mate now. And I had to have it. I didn't care what state it was in. It was cheap, and I had to have it. I knew what was wrong with it. The chap who sold it to me, he had a top end problem. He had it rebuilt, both heads, head gaskets, water pump, timing belt, a lot. And then the bottom end started to go as soon as he put it back on the road. So at that point, understandably, he gave up. Why would you want to spend another grand on the bottom end when you've just spent a good wad of money on the top end? So that's why it went cheap, cheaper than it probably should have. They've gone up a little bit since, but that's mainly the turbos that are worth something now. A good turbo is worth about 10, 12 grand. These are worth about 7, 8. I don't know why, but the person who had it before the guy who sold it to me liked crayons or something, because he's painted it very weirdly. They don't match, and there's runs, like, look at the difference. And he's done it in random little places, like this here. I mean, why just blodge a bit of paint there and not do the rest of it? There was weird little stickers all over it. You can see V6 there, looks like something off a Audi or, dare I say, Ford. There's this piping everywhere, which is really subtle at first. I didn't realise it wasn't meant to be there until a little while later, but you can see them. It is quite subtle, but yeah, cheap and tacky. And then a bit more dodgy paint. The wheels, love the wheels. I don't know what the hell they are, but I love them. They'll be staying. This is the 4-wheel drive version. It's got the rear steer. It doesn't, oddly, have active aero. If it had active aero, you'd see an extra little lip underneath the spoiler, and that's the bit that actually goes up and down. It does have the adjustive damping, which is, again, something very posh for its time. I'm trying to remember which button does it. I believe it's... No. See, I still haven't figured out half the stuff in this car. Maybe it's that one that was there. Whichever one it is, it has the active suspension. Not active suspension. Adjustable suspension, whichever you want to call it. Let me just pop a boot. Japanese-ness everywhere. Not that I can read any of it without the help of Google. This is something to do with the cat, I remember that. And there was a light on the dash that would light up, warning you that the cat is hot, do not park on grass. I don't know whether that's just someone liking grass or someone avoiding the grass catching fire. So what I've done with it is diagnose that definitely the engine had spun a bearing, which is what was presumed, and took the engine out. I then painted most of the engine bits. So this is the transfer case, engine mounts, stuff like that. They've been just given a light coat of Nardo grey, just because that's what I had lying around and I wanted it a bit tidier, and I've taken it all out. Meaty timing belt. So most of the stuff is here. Most of the stuff is in the engine bay. Most of the stuff is in the house. The rest of the stuff is here. And where's it up to now? So it needed a crank, which I have already got. This is an early one, being a 91. It's a Z16A, so it's the early model. It has a non-forged crank. Ones, I think it was 92 or 93 and after, had forged ones, but they're easily £1,000 for a second-hand one. So I've just replaced it like for like. So the problem is that you can't really give the standard steel cranks a machine in and get away with it after they spin a bearing, because they're already thin to begin with. So I took it to the machine shop. He said, nope, can't do it. Too much material would come off. So I had the second-hand crank, which is another steel one, not a forged one, and I can now replace the bearings for it. So after that, rebuild the engine, and then I can just do the flywheel clutch. So all the engine bits are kept in here. And like I said, I'm just waiting for the big end stuff to come. Then I can crack on. There's the block. Various bits and bobs. And then you got the pistons with the conrods. So it's just things like put the engine back together, and then I can focus on the car itself then, which no doubt will need a lot of work itself. There's I'm sure one of the shocks was leaking. So there's the suspension. You saw earlier the bottom arm had come out because the ball joint was old and grotty. It was actually broken into when it was in storage, and someone stole the radiator and the cat off the bottom of it. So there's no cat. Not that it needs one in this country, but it will need an entire exhaust now. And then it can actually go back together. So I just realised I didn't sign off on the video before I finished. So just to summarise, the car, it's been off the road, you know, a good easy a year since I owned it, at least. I only drove it once, and that was to assess the engine's problems. And it's hard to say how long it was off the road before that. I know it was a good at least half a year while my mate had it, and before that, who knows. It's only done 68,000 miles. You know, for a 31-year-old car, that's very little. I'm sure I've walked more than that in 32 years. So there's all the typical things they're going to need looking at, like suspension, joints, bushes, drop links, just all that shit. It's all going to want doing. So this ain't going to be a straightforward or easy project. It's going to be another similar Escort effort, I think. And what was different about the Escort is that it's a popular car, or at least was popular. The GTO never was popular. So even now, it's just going to be hard getting bits, and the bits you can get are just going to be expensive. The problem that people don't understand with the GTO is it was every bit as complicated. Actually, it was more complicated than its rivals. The RX-7, the Supra, and the Skylines, you know, etc., etc. They were actually technologically less advanced, and just because they have stayed in the limelight and to buy are still expensive, doesn't mean that the GTO isn't expensive once you've got one. They're just as expensive. If you look up a lot of the parts, bloody hell, they're expensive. One bottom arm, £300. Jeez, that's one. you've got to buy another 3. The top links as well. It doesn't have an arm on the top, on the rear. It just has a pair of tie rods or links or whatever you want to call them. Bushes, ball joints. It's all expensive. It's going to be a bit of a bank breaker doing this up. But as it is now, I'm going to strip it down, take everything off, assess what needs replacing, what can be replaced, or it's just simply done up. When I had the wheel off just then, I'm pretty sure I could see the leaky shocks, so I'm already one in the bin already. But get the brakes, rebuild them, do all the seals, get it all pucker, because no doubt they're all bloody corroded the fuck by now. Needs an exhaust. Maybe I can just skim the discs and get away with that. Who knows? Just gotta start stripping it down now, so that'll be happening now in the next couple of months. I'm not ready to start spending money on it yet. I am quite finished spending money on the Capri. The Capri needs, a few bits and bobs still. So once that's done, I can, done he says. Once it's to a point where I'm happy, I can carry on with the GTO spending then. Either way, I'm not looking forward to spending the money. It's expensive hobby this, but oh my god, it is the dream car. Imagine it, GTO, Capri, and whatever I've got as a daily. Yes, that is a good garage. Anyway, so rambled on enough. This video is getting on a bit. I'll update this with the next video, but to be honest, the next video is probably going to be based on the Capri. Almost finished doing the brakes on that, and then it's going to a dyno day and a trip up to caffeine and machine, and that's just going to be a joy now. It's getting there. It's almost there, the Capri, so it's not long left before I can say it's done for this point in build. So yeah, stick around for the next one.